let's make sure we're on, baby. Let's go. What's up, guys? It's AIDEN'S back in the flesh, and today this is a little bit more of a personal video, but I really wanted to get this off of my chest to you guys because this actually means a lot to me, and I feel like on a personal note, if I am vlogging and also posting content for you guys, I believe you guys should also know where I and my life come from. So I believe what we're going to do is a little bit more on the personal level, and it's a little bit more different compared to my other videos, but still, so far this is going to get me on a more flat plane level with you guys as my audience and me as a social media influencer. So as you can tell by the title of this video, I feel like a lot of people, when it comes to figuring out what makes them who they are, they don't understand what causes them to be who they are. You know what I mean? And there's always a meaning, especially in life, for everything, because when you notice that in between of when people are actually like striving for what they want instead of doing like, oh, like fucking working a 9 to 5, you know what I mean? Like shit like that, you know what I mean? And 9 to 5s are, no hate on 9 to 5s, because everyone needs to go through them in order to understand like what the concept of them are, but it also matures us in a way that understands a little bit more of the capitalistic life. Long story short, me, who am I? I am Jaden Nipo. I'm currently 17 years old, and I post fitness content, I have social media influence, and I post lifestyle content as well. So when it comes to it, it's not really basic out of the ordinary. For example, I actually have a big reason of how we got to today. So that's why I want to share with you guys, and I think I should just start from the beginning. So let me paint the picture real quick. Long story short, I was born in Waimea, Hawaii, right? And my Waimea, Hawaii is a little bit more of a countryside area. I was born on April 1st, 2008, baby, so your boy's a fucking joke. I'm just kidding, by the way. Nobody's a joke when they know that they have a purpose. And the fun part about that is kind of the situation of where we are with like Coeur d'Alene, you know what I mean? So comparing it to where I live right now, and like the specific area, it's very similar, believe it or not, and I can showcase 2 pictures down here, right? But long story short, it was about 2008. It was in the middle of the 2008 recession, and we were trying our hardest to get out of the area, right? And my parents, which my mother was older than my biological father. My biological father ended up moving up here before us because he ended up getting a job out here, right? It was at the local resort that was near my hometown. I call it my hometown because I've been here for like fucking 15 years, and it's honestly like just that brink in between. Like, people will ask me where I'm born. I'm born in Waimea, Hawaii. I never grew up there, let's be honest. But when it came to the span of being here, I always tell people, like, yeah, I grew up here in Rathdrum, in Coeur d'Alene, like mainly Coeur d'Alene area, because it was we were there for like a hot minute, probably like 10 to 12 years or so. So when it came to it, it was honestly a nice place, and honestly what I call home. You know what I mean? I don't even call Hawaii home, because it's like, it is home, but it's also like the home I never been to, you know what I mean? So it's like that little in between. Let me take a sip of this, by the way. We currently got Blackstone Labs Dust V2. This stuff is absolutely amazing. It's simplistic, but it also will give you a crazy fucking bump. It's so good. Anywho, we're gonna try that stuff tonight. But as you can see, we got some of the blue sky in here. That shit is amazing, dude. But after my biological father moved up here and started working for the resort, we actually were living in a studio for a little bit. We were actually living in what was my grandparents' studio, right? And it was a little bit of a small studio. We didn't live there for too long, but going on forth, it actually spanned into us moving over here because my dad ended up moving here. So guess what? Once he got settled at his job, your boy Jaden Nipo was cast to the islands, bro. The mainland. The island to the mainland, I should say. So yeah, I'm a little exotic, bro. Watch out. When we moved up here, it was not really like a slow or I would say fast start. It wasn't even like a slow or fast start. Once we got our first house, which, keep in mind, I'll put like an example picture if I can find one up here, but it was like a white house, right? Like just a 2-story house. I think it was 2-story, maybe 1-story, but I was really young, so I completely forgot, right? But I think it was a 2-story house. It was just very like exceptionally small. Like I'm talking like this was probably like area property wise, probably around in the thousands. 4,000 square feet. I don't fucking know. Let's get the measurements over with. It goes on to where we actually, when we were hanging out at this house, we were just getting settled in. We weren't really planning on living in that house for too long, especially since it was like one of those older, like cheaper houses in the neighborhood that was also being developed. During the time that we moved here, Hawk's Nest, like first neighborhood you could say, or the landings, whatever you want to call it. They're 2 connected pavilions that are 2 separate, like, how do I say it? Neighborhoods in one, right? They just connect to each other. We lived there for about, I think it was like a year or 2 years. Like it wasn't that long at all. After that, we actually had found a house just down the street that was being sold. I don't think for too much, but it was a 2-story house. You had a backyard and then a play set in the backyard as well. You had an upstairs, downstairs, there's a garage, but it was one of those weird like houses, like the 2000s-esque houses where like you would walk in and there was like a staircase directly to your left with a bathroom before the staircase. It's weird, right? Like the format of this house was absolutely crazy compared to like more modern houses like you see today. It was honestly like, it builds the story into like what it is now, because like, yeah, I lived there at that house. I will say right now, that house right there I lived in for about 10 years or so, right? So when it came to that whole like upbringing of when I was like growing up, which speaking about, we're gonna get into that soon, it actually made it nice, sometimes convul, but we'll get into that real quick. So when I was growing up, I went to preschool, right? Just preschool, and I had 2 friends there because they were my 2 classmates. And I think my teacher was like a friend of someone's, you know what I mean? Like a friend of my mom's. But that's just my like brief memory from it. That is just what I know, right? But she was cool. Both of my friends in that class were cool. But what I noticed is that this is when you'll start to see a cycle of me growing up and searching and kind of surfing through friend groups, you know what I mean? When I was, as a kid, I was always able to get into like different crowds very easily. So like if I ended up meeting someone or like a single person that was a part of a certain like niche, like let's say he did sports or something, right? And I was just some kid, but there was some type of like cross trend to where I could relate to these people very well, right? So finding connections in general wasn't hard. Sometimes when it came to me as a kid, and honestly I think this is where most of it starts, is I was an introvert to certain groups and certain types of people. Most of the time I was an introvert, but if I just saw somebody like single-handedly by themselves, I would be able to approach them, right? And that's how you built a connection. Bringing that into everything that I did in elementary school and like middle school and so on and so forth, this built into the characteristic that allowed me to go and meet new people, right? And I believe this is like having the confidence to bridge yourself away from others, like a big ass crowd, is very, very helpful because like, think about it. If you can reach a certain crowd with your special ability and not only that, yourself as your tool, that's what's going to lead you into building more connections on and on and on, and that's what's going to get you further, especially in higher places. Just remember, connections truly do matter. And honestly, like I look back at it And there's a ton of connections I still have, even up until this day, that I still have from high school. I haven't really like to talk to them, but I still have that connection, you know what I mean? Like, I haven't talked to them in a hot minute, but then I would still have that connection though. Like, I'll be like, hey, how have you been doing? Like, we should meet up, get something together, right? Like, I'll still go out of my way and do that. But when it comes to generalizing like a multi-central like purpose, as a kid, I was so introverted. Like, dude, like, you could come up to me in like the wrong time, at the wrong time during the day, and I would snap back at you, right? This led into something that I started trying to analyze, right? And it was kind of a mood swing behavior, right? It wasn't that like I couldn't control it. It was that since I was a kid, that maturity, that immaturity that I lacked fueled it. You know what I mean? If that makes sense to you guys. But truly on that connection level, it allowed me to not only analyze, like, in this situation, what I was doing wrong, but also analyze what actions have inputs and outputs. What outputs do actions have as inputs? You know what I mean? So, like, a big thing was, like, when I would get together with friends, like, most of the time we would just hang out, talk about literally anything, right? Just be children. During these years of like going up into second grade, third grade, this is when it started like shifting through, but I still maintained the connections I already had that I was super close to, because that was what I was used to, you know what I mean? Comfort, bro. Comfort is the worst thing you could ever have in your life. And let me tell you this, you wanna know why? Because we can never be comfortable. We gotta always keep moving. Us as humans always have to keep moving, especially on our days off. And the thing is like, I'll tell everybody so many things about bodybuilding, right? And it's cause it's my passion. I'll tell anybody, somebody will come up to me, yo bro, Jaden, you're looking big, man. How do I get big? Just eat more. And it's like, we don't need comfort. We need work. We need discipline. But in this total, it brought me to a sense of when I was growing up, that throughout these friend groups, that I would notice different behaviors that were also alike to each other. You know what I mean? Like, when somebody's outgoing, like, most of the time when it comes to it, they're very social. It's because they had a social lifestyle growing up. But my situation was interesting because a lot of the time, you know, my parents, other than my siblings, weren't really like home as much because, for example, my mother would always work, right? But she works to keep the house on the ground, you know what I mean? And she was the one who made all the money, while my dad, well, he was kind of in like, let's just say the spotlight, right? And it kind of gets worse throughout the schedules of that, because it'll go a little bit deeper later as we get through this story, right? My 3rd to 4th to 5th grade years. Now this was kind of a bridge edge, right? Because this is kind of when stuff at home started happening, right? It was like my 4th and 5th and 6th, actually. I honestly made my life so much harder than it was. A big thing that I had to mentally surpass was the amount of stress that the human mind can put on itself. And what I mean by that, right, depending on any way you think, especially introverted, extroverted, just remember that it's a choice no matter how you act, right? Being depressed, I will say it right now, and a lot of people are going to hate to hear it coming out of my mouth, but depression, it really is a choice. And if you can't really find that happiness in something you're striving for, like something you're doing, you got to analyze your purpose, you know what I mean? And I feel like when it comes to finding your purpose, it comes from one thing only, and this is what not a lot of people talk about, but it's your inner child. And when it comes to talking about an inner child, people are always like, oh, but we need to grow up so fast. Anytime, bro, anytime it takes for you to grow up is the amount of time it takes for you to stay young. Would you not want to stay young for the rest of your damn life? Think about this, right? if you're mentally young, you're mentally ready for the world. Let's just be honest. What do we do spending our time growing up? Eating food, getting big, fucking working out, you know, like getting bitches. It's like, it's the dumb shit that we end up doing or having to do later anyways, because why? Because we're humans. And it's like, what puberty sets you up for is not only discipline through a unhealthy world, which is true, because you can always look at it from like that, right? But it's managing not only who you are, but who you want to be in order to manifest it into this future, right? It's all about taking the next step. And I feel like when you fulfill yourself to a whole day, right? That's it's not even a big responsibility, but when you have a full day, you could get so much done. Not only that, but like, let's just talk about how many people like genuinely talk about a goal, right? And then like maybe like 3 or 4 years down, like let's just say like, oh, I want to make a business, you know what I mean? Like, there are ways to make those businesses, right? There is a way to make that business possible. Are you going to work for it? Is the real question. And believe it or not, 99% of people probably won't fucking do the work that they have to do in order to make a business survive, right? Making that a perspective of what people truly like put into their perspective is like daring, you know what I mean? It's like you're putting something negative in your thought process in order, that's just gonna hinder what you think about yourself, you know what I mean? You're putting something in your mind that's already a parasite, so you're creating more and more parasites, and the more parasites that you have, the more you're just gonna become a disease, dude. That's one thing. It's like positivity doesn't come from something, you know what I mean? It comes from you, and it comes from your heart. And knowing that, like, a lot of people, like 75% of people on a statistic, 75, believe that, are depressed. Just think about it. Think about the last time you mentally struggled, right? And it was just because you made it worse for yourself. It wasn't what was really happening in reality. I think a lot of people struggle to account for who they are. That's why Aiden Kilpatrick's in this bitch. I'm filming a YouTube video right now. It's some crazy shit, bro. I've been talking about some like stream moments, bro. I'm going short, like even into like my 6th grade, 7th grade years, I only learned about that. But when it came to adding up like overtime effects that like my parents' divorce took, and let me get into this detail. About in 6th grade was when something major in my life happened, especially for my brother and my sister. My parents actually ended up divorcing, and this took a toll on me. Not only did it take a toll on my brother and also my sister, of course, but everyone around us. Well, he grew up with his mom, and that's how you got this guy right here. But it wasn't that the whole divorce was like I was a product of a divorce. Can we just be fucking real here for a second? I'm a product of a journey, and even Aiden Kilpatrick is a product of a journey. You can see him right now. He's literally just twiddling, bro. Long story short, it's like the more stress you're exposed to is the more you can handle, I believe. I feel like a lot of kids go throughout their life though, like implanting parasites that don't even like add up to what's happening into their reality in themselves. You know what I mean? Like you can think about something really bad, but it's like it just takes a toll on you and it doesn't apply to your situation that you're dealing with.
I know a couple people like that. They're horrible people because of that.
Yes,
literally
dog.
Horrible people because of that.
Yeah, it's one of the worst and most toxic traits you could ever have as a person. It's genuinely like, it will tear you apart.
That's why they have no friends. They have only each other.
Exactly. And that's all they can do, right? They can just strive around with the same crowd that they are. And once somebody morphs to a crowd that they can't change from,
And their pink and purple hair.
that's all we needed to hear, guys. Growing up, I'm not really like ungrateful for it, right? I'm not ungrateful whatsoever about my parents' divorce. In fact, I'm actually very grateful about it, because the thing is that I wouldn't have been the same person if it didn't happen. You know what I mean? I feel like if I had a different life at all from what path it was from what it is now, it would have been terrible, bro. It would have been terrible. I couldn't even imagine. Not a lot of kids as like exposed to that reality can handle that, from what I noticed. And it's rough until you have to accept the fact that it is real. And I feel like acceptance is one of those things that will lead you on into the next level. And I feel like it's denial too. Because denial too, like,
It's crazy, man.
denial wouldn't be real unless, acceptance wouldn't be a thing unless you had denial.
Yep.
I feel like that acceptance is what matters the most, because like acceptance is what's going to keep you going after like the worst, because you're accepting what it is for what it is.
Yep.
And if you can do that, I think that's the most powerful thing. Like, I know people say like, let time for grief, and I feel like it's possible. It's very good. It's very healthy. I feel like grief helps a little bit more when you know it's going to be over. And I think once you think about it being over is when you accept it. But like, yeah, like even growing up too, like in 8th grade when my dad passed away, right? This was 2 years after this divorce. I didn't even know either. Turns out my dad was actually a cokehead, and he did some crazy stuff while he was in the spotlight, let's just say. But also at the same time too, I am grateful for everything that's happened like throughout that time, because like I can look back on it, and there's a lot of kids that go through that stuff like later in life, because like not a lot of people will even catch their moms or dads dying first of all. Like, let's just be honest. I should probably keep it a little bit like more hearted, like more warm-hearted, but it's like also at the same time it's just
Squish the bug.
hello. How you doing, brother?
Good, you?
Good. Other than the ones that we have, what did you like about them? Like focus, I got you, brother.
I 3D printed this on my
Do you
A1
like
Mini.
the focus you get on that black
Infinity
magic
Cube.
stuff? Dude, it's some crazy stuff with this kind of crash that you
Hard.
notice after like black magic.
Soft.
You don't get a crash with this. Yeah, what's your name?
Yeah.
Nice to meet you. Have a good one.
You as well.
But yeah, and this is currently Aiden Kilpatrick's bottle, and he didn't even know I was using it this whole damn
I
time.
saw yours at the
And
gym.
it's
I was
like-
like,
Yeah, that means
fuck?
this one somewhere. I noticed it was yours when I shook it. I was like, oh, I could just open the lid, right? I open up the lid, fucking, and then I start shaking it. All I hear is, what the fuck is? Are we dead ass? I mean, it's tough. Don't get me wrong, bro. Try this. That's what I'm saying.